Welcome to a day in the life of a home care physical therapist. My name is Depasquale. I'm a full-time physical therapist. I see about 5 patients a day. I have 45 years experience in the New York City, Westchester area. Uh, the basic population that we see are primarily geriatric, multiple comorbidities. You name the organ, and we deal with it from brain to pulmonary to uh, transplants, joint replacements, fractures, UTIs, COPD. So basically, that's the bulk of the population. And I just want to emphasize, the medical comorbidity aspect, because we're dealing with not just the primary, but secondary and tertiary diagnoses. So you have your chronic orthopedics, your spinal stenosis, your arthritis, pain management, the diabetic neuropathy, uh, things of that nature as well. But I say joint replacements and organ transplants is something that we see quite frequently as well. Recent falls, recent traumas, uh, anything that vestibular dizziness. So that's pretty much what we're dealing. And most of the patients are pretty well compromised, having had recent hospitalization or coming out of short-term rehab. So that's pretty much what we see on my end. Patient population also ranges early 60s and late 50s into the 90s. We're seeing a lot of patients in their 90s. 90s the new 70. Longevity is certainly something that we're seeing, I've seen over the years in my 45-year experience. The uniqueness of home care, certainly you're dealing with the person's home, you're in their environment, you're their guest, you have to deal on their terms. So you're each apartment, every home you go into is unique, has its own challenges, its own fall risk issues, its management issues, and requires your skills to be observant, anticipate what goes forward from in the future based on your assessment. You have to be able to point out the safety hazards and give the patients and family the resources to rectify those deficits, whether it's insurance covered or they're going to buy things on their own. That's also a big part of what we're doing. Patient education, family education. You're dealing with a transition period, and most of these folks, they need multiple medical functional mobility options. They don't want to hear about a walker, or they have the wrong type of walker, or or they need to start using a cane in certain situations. Perhaps a wheelchair as a backup. So again, giving the folks the options, giving an option A when they're on their A game. Here's option B when you're on your B game. So that's kind of looking at the big picture, looking ahead, being anticipatory. You're a coach. You're an advocator. You have a medical sophistication. You're taking vital signs. You're seeing a trend. You're calling a doctor. You're preventing a hospitalization. You're talking with nurses. You're managing home health aides. You're getting someone back in the shower if they haven't been there for months. They're going back outdoors again for the first time. So you're setting up a realistic activity dosing progressions. You're utilizing whatever space you have. You have to do functional tests. Do you have enough distance to do a get up and go? What's a functional indoor apartment distance, and how many times do they have to do it to get to a block equivalent distance that looks like a football field? Or what's the hallway distance that will give them that? How to break it up. So using your Borg scales and things of that nature. So you need to know your objective measures. You need to be able to apply your objective measures on a routine basis. You should be using gait speed. Almost every visit has a vital sign amongst your standard vital signs and your pulse oximetry. You have to have impeccable standard precautions, hand washing, have your barriers, have a good bag technique, have real good wipes, have your soap, have your gel, have your mask if you need it, have booties for cover your footwear. So you need to know that. You need to know your Medicare regulations. You need to know that the patient's homebound, why they're homebound. They have to document that. That's a condition of participation. You need to have a skilled need. Why is the skill there? Why are you there? Why can't someone do what you're doing? So you have to keep that in mind when you're documenting. Creativity. You have to be able to set up effective home exercise stations, especially for standing balance and stepping deficits and things like that. An example of creativity would be using a common home device in the home, a Swiffer, and think of all the single hand standing tasks you could do, stepping skills, things you could do with that, step stool activities, or functional reaching in any direction. It's a great tool. There's no limit to what you could do. Looking at the whole environment of the home, where is the height needed? Where is there too much height? What can be done for those instances? Floors, lighting, getting the person outdoors. There's no perfect setting. There's always an improvement that could be made. So that's what you need to know, and that's what makes things unique. So knowing your medical diagnoses, knowing your bag technique, and being a good generalist and having working knowledge, it's a big responsibility, and it's a big undertaking to be a good, effective, and a sustainable home care physical therapist. Not to let yourself burn out. Have good time management. Make sure you have good hobbies and you have other interests, and really enjoy what you're doing. Love what you're doing. Embrace your mission, and good luck. Wonder what the inside of a home care car should look like? Well, here's the back of my Chevy Equinox SUV. You have a little compliant surface cushion. We have backup supplies, wipes and paper towels, alcohol, foam soap, various canes. When you're going to have a flat tire, you need to get your tire off the ground and get to a flat fixing place. And paperwork, home exercise programs, various other supplies, little booties, TheraBand. One of our common regulations is to have a dedicated place for your bag, so plastic bin, some exercise home programs, and along the way over the years you do collect walkers, three-wheel walker, standard walker. Always carry them just in case, you never know. Okay, just another aspect of home care. We're getting ready for the Winter Olympics here in New York, and there's my transportation. Not too bad. Snow's only 3 feet high. You get double parked, and we're going to plow right out of here. So if you're thinking of home care, seasons do change, especially here in the Northeast. Don't worry, it only lasts a month. Built-in Stairmaster. You need some aerobics? Well, here's one way to get your workout in as a home care physical therapist. You have options. You could do 1 flight, 2 flights, 3 flights, 4 flights. Looking at a rear threshold reactive stepping assessment using a spring scale assessment, 1 pound incremental pulls, and we're assessing fall risk by initiation of rear stepping threshold. So I'm pulling at 1 pound increments. I'm asking the patient to resist and not step until they have to step. And I'm looking at the pound of force that the first step is taken based on a percentage of body weight. Okay, resist, and don't step until you have to. Resist, 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 resist. So I'm up to 8 pounds, and we're looking at a threshold target based on a published study on non-fallers. Don't step until about 6.5% of their body weight. Okay, resist. Don't step until you have to, and take the fewest steps possible. Resist. Keep your heels down. Resist. Okay. Don't step until you have to. Resist. 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 And there is a single step at 11 pounds, which is 6.5% body weight for this individual.